I have a wonderful guest here with me today. Actually, she's my co-host because we've been spiritual sisters for like a good maybe 25 years. And what's interesting is we go in and out of each other's lives, and we landed in the same chorus together, Ulovie Iguerero's chorus in the old church up on High Street. You know, it's kind of like cosmic appointments. We don't have to keep track of each other. The universe always puts us back in each other's life. And I decided I wanted to do something on heart-centered living, and I thought, who could be my guest? And I thought of Lorraine, shot her a text, and right away she came back with, I'd be delighted. And I'm like, yes! We live on Maui, and as you know, the show's about Maui. And Maui's a really special place. It has a very high vibration. It's one of the number one vacation destinations on the planet for many reasons. According to NASA, Haleakala has the highest magnetic field on the planet. And people who live here, or at least a good share of the people who live here, and the people who love to come visit here, know that Maui has a very unique energy and power to her. I call her a her. I know some people say they think it's masculine energy, but most people say it's feminine energy, because it is also being more and more throughout time considered the heart chakra of the planet, and that's like a whole nother subject. As a matter of fact, we are going to be talking about heart-centered living today, and we're going to touch on all the different aspects that one needs to know if they choose to change their life from the way it's been. Maybe you're exhausted, disgusted with the world, getting divorced, whatever it might be. You're ready for a life change, and you want to do a soul-guided life, a heart-centered life. So when I say heart center, that's interchangeable with feeling center, soul. What other words would you use for
intuition?
Well, yeah, your intuition, your intuitive center, your intuitive guidance. You're connected to your soul, so it's a whole different way of living, and it does take practice. It's almost like learning a sport. So we're going to be going through all the different things, and I'm just going to let Lorraine introduce herself.
Okay.
We both have some vast backgrounds, and we will introduce ourselves in the simplest way possible, but later on we're going to talk a little more about some of the things we've been through in our life that have brought us to the point that we're at, where we really believe in living a soul-centered, heart-centered life. And Lorraine, yes, I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Okay, great. Well, hello everybody out there. And my heart, I already feel my heart just, something's happening. This show is magic. Alana is magic. And we have lived through everything that we're going to be talking about. We aren't armchair philosophers. And I've lived on Maui since '96. I've had near-death experiences. I've come back from all kinds of things. I've almost died so many times. And I've just basically thought, well, I got to make a living on this planet. So I started out, I used to work for corporate America. I put myself through school with very intensive degrees, got sick from stress, wound up on Maui, had a spiritual teacher that taught me how to do clairvoyant readings. I was already had the gift, but I spent 5 years with her just basically healing myself, and then people started to come to me for readings. And actually, that's been my passion always. And anyway, and then when I landed on Maui, I had, through all my struggles, I had learned to do so many things because I had to like land on my feet and be able to do stuff. And so, oh gosh, that's what, so I did like 5 different things here on Maui, and I've been a professional reader for 30 years, but I started doing palms at 14 because that was my first passion. And I have done thousands and thousands of readings, and I'm just at a different place in my life right now, and I'm going to hand the mic back to Alana.
Yeah, we have similar. I was pretty much a mentally focused person. I had a huge awakening in the 1990s where my heart just opened up and my soul just showed me what's going on, and I had so many questions, and I actually went on what I consider a near-death experience. It was very similar to that, and it was while I was alive in my body, because what was happening is my soul, and I say Christ also, was showing me, had surrounded me and took me on a journey that lasted several months. It started to taper off. This whole thing is really a process. It's just you're starting a new process. It's not the old-fashioned, I don't need to mention what that is. But this is really the new normal, by the way. And that's one reason we've decided to launch now, because we know that the energy is increasing on the planet and pushing people to live from their soul instead of from just the mental perspective where everything's just survival. So anyway, I had the big opening, but I struggled with that for about 30 years. I did start doing intuitive readings professionally, and part of my questioning in the 90s was, oh my God, where I lived at the time, there was so much crime and just so many things happening. I was praying for an answer. I just didn't feel that I knew, and I couldn't wrap my mind around the fact that I always felt heaven in my heart. I always believed in heaven on earth. But I was looking like a hellscape was surrounding me. I was in a big city, concrete jungle, you know. And the answer I got is that's, as A Course in Miracles calls it, that's level confusion. What that means is that there's different perspectives to go in going about life and the way you see things. And during this time, I was shown the energy that belies everything, and I could also see people's souls. So what it is that we get disconnected because society does not teach us, which is what we're going to be working on doing in this series. Society doesn't teach us from the time we're young. It teaches us to ignore our soul. And so I had done that just like everybody else. And so when I looked around, I could see, it's as though my mind's eye could see people in layers, and it's like, oh, this is who you really are at a deeper level, but this is who you think you are. Oh. And so people either can be, by doing intuitive readings all these years, I've found out what the difficulties people have around all of this and the healing issues and how to remove the blockages, the programming that we've picked up in our life for whatever reason. It's so unique. Our soul is so unique, and our experience and our journey is so unique that intuitive work is very valuable for that, because you can unlock things for people that they're really stuck on. But that's where I got to see, I have a hair in my mouth. But that's where I got to see that people really did have this beautiful soul, but they just weren't aware of it. So like, there's different levels of detachment from the soul. Some people go in and out and they don't know why. And some people are trying, but maybe they're trying to adapt behaviors. It's not about behaviors. It's about getting back to that child inside, the free spirit. It's when you get, your energy comes back, and I'm sure you've been through this too. I've been through burnouts. Like I said, it took me a while to learn how to take this inner self in every aspect of my life, including all types of work. And I'm, like Lorraine, have done so many different kinds of work. And I think that's all valuable too, because it gives us a good background when we're helping people and guiding them. It's not like we're so detached from that reality. I think it's valuable to understand how the matrix, I call it the matrix, functions. So I recommitted to aligning with that, which we'll talk about a little bit later in the show, aligning with that presence and all the things that are involved in that, all the metaphysical disciplines that are involved with staying aligned with your heart center and your feeling center, your soul. And we'll get into that. But yeah, I really recommitted to it the last 5 years, and it's been wonderful, because after burnouts you get your energy back, you get your clarity back, you feel free, you're happy, you're connected to joy. It's not something you can make up. Being connected to your soul, it's all automatic. And it's we're going to get into it now, but that's basically where we've been in our life and our journey, and we're at a point where we're really wanting to share it with other people, because we can see that that's definitely what the world needs right now. And that's where, at least I feel, that I would guide my intuitive work, or teaching other people about their intuition or how to do this healing work for their self, Yeah. So I know we both had, that was a very long intro, but but we decided not to script anything, because we just wanted it to be natural and free-flowing. And Lorraine and I, we get so excited when we're talking about times.
We do.
I told the camera guys, I said, It's going to be kind of hard with switching the camera angles because me and Lorraine, we interrupt each other all the time, but that's the way we talk. So anyway, that's the deal. Yeah, we're like this sisters from cosmic sisters, I always call it.
Yeah.
And I've written a lot of books too, and you can find those on my website, alanak.com. And yeah, I think that's the main thing. There's a lot of information on my website, so if you have any questions about some of the stuff we're talking about, we will be doing more shows, and you can look at the website and my book's on there. And you don't have a website right now?
No,
Yeah,
I have people try to follow me home.
Yeah.
I have to hide. I just don't put my name out,
Yeah.
and it's like it's like something about the energy, because I need a lot of space too, because I work on a lot of levels, and I don't advertise at all.
Yeah, because being an intuitive, it's like a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because you have more sensitive equipment. You're very sensitive, but at the same time, you need that for your inner guidance.
Yeah.
And this is going to apply to a lot of people who are tuning in to the show. Is that as everybody's experienced different levels of intuitive moments or insights or whatever, and sometimes then that transforms in time to downloads, where you get like big packets of information. But in order to be sensitive enough to pick up those really important frequencies, you need to learn to screen out the onslaught of society, like you're out in traffic, you're going shopping, and that used to really bring me down, and I've learned the tools.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, all of the things that we have done, and like our years of multitasking, for instance, and all the different things we've done, I've found I've done for many years, I've done readings for corporate gigs, and I'll have people lined up at these venues, and there'll be a band blasting literally 10 feet from me, and it actually helps me concentrate. I used to have to do high-level math homework, and I would have to have the TV on full blast so that I could focus on my calculus.
They say there's a study of that some people need noise.
Yeah, it helps.
I remember we also, another place where we landed in each other's lives is we used to do intuitive readings for the AIDS Foundation with Reverend Susie O, who has passed on now.
Reverend Susie.
And
I love her.
And also we did it at the Marilyn Monroe House, so we kept landing in each other's lives there. But we would be in a shopping mall, and I've had people say, "How can you do that?" Also, I did a radio show for 9 years where I have the switchboard flashing at me. I'm talking. I don't even know what they're going to ask me. But that takes a lot of practice. So if you're wanting to develop your intuition by connecting with your inner guidance is to guide you, number one. So you want to make sure you keep that clear. When I was younger, I was always being pulled by spirits, and we'll talk about that sometime. Mediumship. We'll do a whole show on that. But I had to create what I call filters. So actually, this is a good subject, because if you are going to start doing your inner work and you want to unplug from society and really listen to the voice within, and start to learn, what am I being guided to? I'm being guided just to see a street musician? Am I being guided because I'm gonna get a professional connection? It's where you start to be guided in the moment, and you don't know exactly why. You have to trust it, but it takes a period of time, probably years, if you want to have a soul-guided life, a heart-centered life, learning what those impulses are. It's important to have the filters, because the outside interference, if it's coming into your energy and into your mind, you won't understand your intuitive impulses from the inside. So this is probably a good subject for us to just talk about since it came up.
Yeah.
The filters, so like I said, my one filter, a lot of sensitives are what I call untrained empaths, and they're picking up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just had this conversation with people the other day at the coffee shop that they thought it was so cool, the spirit mediumship, and I could tell you endless stories, but I said at a certain point, and that was in the 90s, I said, I realized that I didn't have to be subject to, like you're talking about being subject to energies and people, the onslaught of people. I didn't have to be subject to all these spirits wanting me to give messages to people. That I could actually create through my intention that I'm not available for mediumship.
Yeah.
And then my life was no longer controlled by that.
So I'm kind of
So that's what I
thinking,
call filter. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so we're talking about filters, and so I want to just kind of get it back to the people out there right now, because there's a lot going on this planet right now. And that's really why we're here. It's time. And people, it's shaking people. Old realities are breaking, and they're saying that something's got to be better. I'm watching, you know, all these things. You know, there's the whole list of things we're doing to each other and this planet and the life forms on it, and it's been going on for some time. And it's at the tipping point now.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is, which side do you want to tip on? And we have it's very
Choose
simple.
Your lane.
What?
Choose your lane.
Choose your lane.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's very simple. Does it feel good? Does it feel bad? Does it feel happy? Does my body kind of sing when I hear that question, when I think of doing that? Or do I look at that person and I want to walk into the other room? Listen to that. It's about going where you feel something in here that feels right or it feels wrong, and you've got it. And I can't even walk out the door, and it's like I literally feel whether, like, I just kind of just follow this easy. I make it easy. It's like,
Yeah.
I just flow. I just, if it's efforting and I try to push it, it's not that. So it's that, and it's not listening to fear. If there's an energy that's trying to push you to do something and it doesn't feel good and it's fear, that's
perfect.
Manipulation. That has nothing to do with you. That has something to do with someone's fear-based reality that is outside of you. And this is so much what the world is struggling with right now, and why we're in this situation. And so this is an actual beautiful time on the planet. We human beings have created what's happening on this planet, all of us. And so every single one of us that gets happy or raises our vibration or listens to that intuition or is kind when they could be mean, is kind, that helps lift the whole planet, because it's all one
It's
big
all connected.
soup.
Soup. I always think
It's
of
a
it as a
soup.
recipe. If you keep putting salt in it, it's going to get saltier. You put sugar in it, it's going to get sweeter. So everything everybody puts out is going into that recipe that all of us are. The soup. Soup is a better way to put it. Yeah, the soup that everybody's swimming in. It's all connected.
Yeah.
And so if you're putting out anger, I don't care what you're angry about.
You're dumping anger into the soup, and
Yeah.
you're going to get it back, because
It returns to its source. Apparently, yeah. That's why if you put out love, you're just going to get love back.
because it's sort of a paradox. We're putting our energy into this whole big soup, and yet at the same time, we're just a whole big soup all on our own. So it's like a drop of water in the ocean. So if we're resonating out joy, our little auric field is filling with joy, and people are bouncing it back to us, and I feel better. So angry people make more anger. And that's why these hatred things keep going on and on and on, because it's just bouncing back and forth. So you get to choose which side you're going to be on, and you've got to
Fear or love.
Fear or love. Yeah.
And then also, I want to point out, because I'm about to encroach on this territory, that words, everybody has their own perspective and their own ways of explaining things and words, and a lot of times people can, especially lately, can get triggered by words. Let's make sure that as we go through this series, you understand I use a lot of words interchangeably, and Lorraine and I are very similar. That's why we can converse. We could probably talk for a month straight. But there's so much the same about us. That's why. But at the same time, we do have slightly different words sometimes, different perspectives, and we need to honor that in each other too. That's an important part of this. Is don't get too hung up on the words, because if you start to communicate and live intuitively, the words don't matter that much anyway. So it's like, so where was I going? You were talking about, I was just going to talk about love, living with love. It comes back to you.
What we put out.
What you put out. Yeah, I know. I totally lost track of what I was saying.
Oh,
well,
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So in all of that, it's sort of like each of us is we're different than each other, and yet we have so much in common. And it's like the world has so many different kinds of flowers or trees and fish, and it's like, oh, that flounder, that's bad because it's not a goldfish. I mean, that's what we do when we invoke misogyny or racism or any of that.
Or
we're
even just judgment about how much money you have, or what size, you know, what color, or how you dress. And why do I keep losing track of what I'm saying? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
No,
yeah.
No, I know.
No, but you're right. That's just it, about any kind of judgment. And we're trained.
And we judge ourselves too.
Yeah.
I mean, usually people that are harshly judging other people are also harshly judging yourself. It's about really relaxing. Oh, I know, forgiveness. Forgiveness, it lies in, it's just recognizing that either I don't see this right, or I just need to shift my perspective. A lot of times it's that. Or that person was just detached from their soul and they acted out of, but we were talking a lot the other day about, that's kind of where we were headed with that. Responsibility is that this is a time where people need to take responsibility for what they're putting into that soup, and also what you're doing to your body and your mind. Oh, I know what I was going to say, the darkness. That's what I was going to say. I always call it the darkness or the dark forces. Some people, you go to a Baptist church and they call it the devil. All of that's interchangeable. And actually, I wrote a book a couple of years ago because the fear was really getting kicked up because of the COVID stuff, and then the division, you know, the vaccine against not the vaccine, you know, and that's when that separation and the fear. And I said, wow, you can really see this playing out. I studied A Course in Miracles in the 1990s, and that's what it's about. It's about seeing that there is a level of love. The truth is love, and God, once again, interchangeable words, at a certain level, but you have to be heart-centered to see it. And to sense it. And if you're all up here and all of your programming and your woundedness and your judgment, it can be standing right in front of you and you're not going to see it. So what the darkness does is it's kind of like a black hole. When something dark is coming into your life, whether you want to call it the devil or entities or whatever people want to call it, that's where I was coming up with. People have different references. And the book, I pointed that out, is all it's doing is it's showing you what needs to expand in you, what needs to grow, what needs to be healed, or what needs light shown on it, whichever way you want to look at it. And we're going to get into, we both have a couple things that we want to share. We weren't born, I certainly was not born into a family that accepted me, recognized me. They didn't support anything that were the gifts of my soul when I was growing up. And we all have any range of abuse, neglect, misguidedness. You know, almost everybody did not live a fairy tale life, and some people worse than others. But we're talking about responsibility, and we're going to talk about our own story a little bit, and then so you understand that we had to work through all of this stuff. So taking responsibility, and whatever is dark that's shining in your mind or your heart or stopping you, or maybe it surrounds you. You might be in an abusive relationship, maybe you're in a job that you hate. It's all a matter of learning how to figure out, what is this trying to show me? And like we said before, everybody is so unique that one person who's in a job they hate, and I learned this through readings, job they hate, well, it's because you need to shift your perspective, because it's you that hates the job. The job has some good things for you if you open up your eyes. And another person hates their job, and it's like, well, because they're afraid to leave, because they're afraid to lose the money, but there's this other thing beckoning them. So it's very unique. So the things that we're going to be talking about, you got to glean from it and take from it what resonates with you. And the other thing is, one day something can totally make sense. Oh yeah, that's what it is. And then the next day it can just flip, you know. And I even noticed as I went through the journey that how you perceive reality will flip-flop a lot of times too. So anyway, we're just going to mention a couple things, and then we'll talk about how you do the journey, and kind of like some of the tools you need as you go through the journey. So I know that what I loved about our conversation the other day was that you talked about these challenges and difficulties, and like I said, seemingly dark or challenging things come into our life. It's always a gift, really, if you start to see that way, and we're going to explain how that's occurred in our life,
Yes.
so you can maybe see how that's happening in your life.
Yeah.
So Lorraine, why don't you share, give us a story about what you think has impacted you the most, the difficulty that impacted you the most, and how you used it as a gift.
Well, through all of the scenarios, negative challenges that my life presented for me, that have made me me and have taught me how to be strong. I had to face each one with courage. And I had this one where I had a blind spot and did not realize it. And I was just drawn to take this 21-day course in changing your mind from negative to positive thinking. And so what I did was I took a little Post-it big pack, and I took, and I put them all over the place. I put one in the mirror in the bathroom, and the car window, on the side, all over in the kitchen, so that every time I looked at that little yellow Post-it, I would look at my thoughts, and I was shocked. I was thinking negativity all the time, and I thought I was a very positive person. So I just decided to take that, and every time I looked and thought about what I was thinking, take that. I don't have to fix the thought. You don't ever have to fix anything. You just do something that feels good. And I made up 2 mantras that just made my soul soar. That soar, S-O-A-R, like fly. And yeah, a little pun there. And I would just start feeling good, and it kept flooding my body. I found out later with the little chemicals that they happen when you feel good. And I started after that month to start to be able to do it, but I still practice it every day. And maybe I have 15% negative thoughts. I mean, you just got to remember that that's all they are. Oh, hi, thought, bye.
That's all it is,
and it's
right?
all it is,
Yeah.
and they don't have to control you. So what I did was, one of the things, I was so worried about money all my life. And I said, oh, I should have figured out how to invest in this or follow that. And it was like, I just never was there. So I was always beating myself up. And one day I thought, oh my gosh, I get it. It just occurred to me, in a positive thought, I'm not going to let fear control me anymore. Whatever power made the stock markets, made all these investments, it's like that power made everything. Why don't I just connect directly to that now? And then, and I stopped worrying, I stopped fretting, I started making peace with where I was at, and started being grateful for everything I had. And I also started to bless, not just everything I gained, but all my losses. And a very wise friend of me said to me a couple years ago, he says, Lorraine, don't get so upset about the losses. It's like the tide goes out, comes in, and all of a sudden I started blessing all of it. And it's like, and it's magical, because then you can focus on the joy of the present moment.
Joy of the present moment. Well, that's the thing about living heart-centered. If it's not about these big happenings, it can be. And for those of you, I have some friends who know the Bible front to back, and I love how they'll just throw out a little Bible phrase. And I'm not one of those people that says the answers are in the Bible. I love the Bible, but I'm all about, like you said, the only thing that's eternal is your soul. And your soul knows everything about you. It knows your past. It knows your future. By connecting to your soul, it will guide you. It doesn't mean don't read the Bible. I love the stuff that's in the Bible. I have a couple friends, like I said. One used to be a Pentecostal minister, and I don't remember what the other person's reason for it is, but they'll shoot Bible phrases out while I'm talking, and I just love it. It's like they know, they got like this ready reference.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones is, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and these things will be added unto you. What we're talking about actually explains a lot of the Bible stories and parables and teachings are actually backed. The things that we're talking about, they're in the Bible. But I love that one, seek ye first the kingdom of God. And my way of going, like you were saying it kind of like how Esther Hicks says, well, choose a better feeling thought. and as you practice choosing a more positive viewpoint, or what I like to say, neutralizing your thoughts, because your thoughts are going to jump in with the animal brain, which is set up for survival and watch out, and you stub your foot on the table, so now stay 10 feet away from tables.
Yeah.
So that's the brain is designed that way because we're on an organic planet, and we are these spirits expressing through basically a biological animal body that's been created to express the soul as best as possible, but we're still carrying around a lot of, and we are on a planet where you can get in a car accident, you can fall off a cliff, so it's not like you can fly. And so anyway, when it comes to following your soul, my go-to, and it's funny that I know how well it works, and I can forget for a couple days, and I know you know this too, your breath. That's why they always say breathe. I remember quitting smoking 14 years ago. Why is it so miraculous to take a breath? And why does that get me through it? And then I found out through metaphysical studies and the whole thing and downloads that I've gotten, your breath is basically your soul. So anytime you are feeling like you're all disconnected, you're frazzled, whether it's you've gotten taken in by the outside world, by stresses, something happened in your life, your car breaks down, maybe somebody hacked your bank account or whatever it might be, it's always going back to ground zero, which is your soul, because something just happened to me similar to that. Okay, so my thing was, I know all of this, but then Spirit said, well, you don't know it well enough. And I still have to say it was a gift. I had barely, because I've been heart-centered, some people do it with money and some people won't, and that's like a whole philosophy. But I always say, well, it really depends on the individual, and I've had enough money to get, but I don't have extra. So sometimes I go into fear, well, what if something happens to my car? What if then what am I going to do? What if I blow a tire? I don't have, my car is all-wheel drive. I have to replace all 4 tires at once. They won't just do 1 tire, So then I think about those things. I've gotten rid of all of that, but it was kind of like God said, here, I'll give you something to worry about. So what happened was I had just barely gotten a new car. My other one was breaking down a lot. I traded it in, got a new car. It was only a couple years old. It had 18,000 miles on it or something. And a drunk girl hit it and totaled it.
Oh,
and so now I blew all my equity in the car, my down payment. I had to come up with another down payment, and I don't have this kind of money. So all I could do, I was just totally, and I don't have anybody who can help me give me rides, and I don't want to do that anyway. So I knew that what I had to do was just stay focused on my center, focused on my breath, even though I don't know what's coming. I have to just trust this moment. And I have to say, now that was 2 years ago, that was like my master's thesis. It was like, this is the last, you got it now. Moving to Maui, I moved to Maui in 1998, sight unseen, sold everything, and on trust. And so, but I needed a refresher just for this time we're in, and I really got it. It was like, wow, my soul kept saying to me, you can't know what's coming next because you create it by what energy you're choosing to put out. And so all I just kept saying to myself, and it was challenging at the time because my brain kept wanting to jump in with the what ifs and, oh, what if this happened, what if that happened, what if this doesn't go right, yeah. And I just kept saying to myself, everything's going to be all right, everything's going to be all right. And then I had a couple friends saying, you need to get a lawyer. And so I thought, she doesn't have money, she didn't even have car insurance. And then I just kept saying, no, because all I have is this. All I have is this. That's all I got. No other promise, but every moment it's going to be okay. And I ran into one girl who said, you are so going to be okay. And that's exactly what I needed to hear. I didn't need to hear, get a lawyer, get pissed off, nah. You know what I mean? And I really needed to hear that. I kept telling myself. And then once I got through that, there were so many steps I had to go through to get to where they're going to give me enough, where they're going to value my car high enough to pay off the loan. Nah. The whole, all the way through. Yeah. And I'm like, see, that was a refresher in staying in the moment and trusting how you're being guided, but putting the best energy, even that it's not circumstances.
It's gift.
So yeah, this terrible thing, I really see it as a gift. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
And then so if we want to sit around and fret about what's happened in our life and the way we were raised and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, so what you said, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and it's like people just get all hung
This
up
is the kingdom of
in
God.
the words, and it's like it's not something that you say, it's not something that you parrot, it's not something someone says to you. It just is. It just is. It's like a tree doesn't say, "Oh, I have to connect to the kingdom of God." They just
do.
are.
They
They
just
just
are
do. You just
connected.
do it. You just do it, and just know you don't have to do anything. You already are.
You are inside of you already connected. Everybody has it.
And when I stopped worrying that day and started to train myself, it's like an everyday occurrence, train myself to connect to the true source, that's what we're talking about. It's like, wow, I'm not gonna just give over to the little all these little things that keep nibbling on you fear. I'm just gonna connect to this divine creator that made me. How can you even make a blade of grass? I mean, this is so incredible, this life that we have.
Mm-hmm.
And each of us connecting to the kingdom of, and again those words is like everybody has you say love, you say God, everyone's going to have a different take on it because it's a word. It's a word. You can't figure this stuff out because it's bigger than our little human minds.
I say that all the time in my books. I say you can't comprehend it. That's why we talk about faith and trust, because you can't comprehend the magnanimity that created this universe.
Yeah, and it's like that's why
you trust.
That's why we're given consciences, and that's why we're given heart. And it's so easy to actually figure out what to do. And it's like, just pretend that you're in the place of that kid you're going to hit on the side of the head, or that animal that you're going to pet. Just pretend that or that person you're about to fire, and they may need to go, but just pretend that you're the one feeling what you're going to be doing to them.
That's why we're empaths.
And it's all it is just pretend they're doing it to you, and then stop and think, well, my somebody, big chieftain or somebody said, I'm supposed to do this. I'm supposed to treat people this way because they don't believe the way I do. So wait a minute, who says? Just forget it. Forget what's in your head and just do what is so simple and so in front of your face and so basic. Just treat something else the way you would want to be treated.
I like the thing that's been on, that I put it on my Facebook post. It has a picture of Earth from outer space, and it has another picture of Earth from outer space next to it, and it says, Planet Earth before your opinion, and Planet Earth after your opinion. You know, and the thing is that we are as unimportant as we are important.
Yeah.
We are a cog in this entire, like we talked about how all the energy goes into the soup and then we all experience it. However, you do have your, there's all these different levels. There's your job in your immediate circle. There's places you go. There's, like in Maui, the island you live on. And then there's also your energy field. And so when we talk about, you have to make the choice. It's not like we need to step out and be changing the world. But if it crosses your path, is why I always tell people, if you're going to be, with the internet, we're hearing what's happening everywhere, and there's horrific things happening everywhere, and there's amazingly beautiful things happening everywhere. And if we choose to follow in our mind those things that are happening in other energy systems or to other people, that's great to be that compassionate, but at the same time, it's going to destroy your flow. So this whole thing seems selfish. And it is, because you're going to focus totally on your path and what you're putting into the world and how you're experiencing the world. So from that perspective, it's selfish, but at the same time, that's the best thing you can do for the planet.
We hope you enjoyed part 1 on heart-centered living. Please listen to part 2 for more inspiration. Aloha.